You know, paradigms control the results in your life. They have the power over everything, from your relationships to your income. And when you shift your paradigm, everything in your life improves. It's an exciting idea, isn't it? Well, I want to welcome you to Paradigm Shift, where we're going to teach you how to make dramatic improvements in the quality of your life. Think about your life for a moment. I want you to think about the results in your life and think about the concept of a paradigm shift. What is a paradigm? How are paradigms formed? How can they be changed? That's what I want to talk to you about, and I think as you get into this, you're really going to like it. Ask yourself this question. Why would anyone look at a tremendous opportunity offering them time and money, freedom, and then walk away from it? You know, you hear people day in and day out say, I wish I had this, I wish I had that, I wish I had this car, I wish we could take this vacation. Why did they walk away from it? Well, most people say, well, I really don't know. I don't think there's an answer to that. No, there is an answer to that. You see, people are walking away from opportunities every day, and the biggest opportunity they have, they carry within them. Napoleon Hill once said, don't go searching for opportunity, but reach out and embrace them right where they are. You see, the people that walk away from the opportunities are being controlled by paradigms. They really are. They're being controlled by something and they're not even sure what it is. Think of this. Paradigms are nothing but a multitude of habits, and they're other people's habits. These habits have been passed along from one generation to the next. It's rather sad because most of the things that the average individual does on any given day, they didn't even decide to do. They're programmed to do it. It's literally programmed right into the genes, and that's what's called a paradigm. What you're dealing with is habits. You see, paradigms are nothing but a multitude of habits. Paradigm is a sort of buzzword of this particular generation, and it really explains what subconscious conditioning is all about. Well, in this particular part of the paradigm shift, I want to talk to you about paradigms, and I'm going to talk to you about why people don't change them and how they could change them. You see, paradigms are the very reason why success for most people is a puzzle. And it really is a puzzle. They give it everything they've got and they fall short. They get going and they say, I'm going to do it this time. And then they quit. I'm going to go on a diet, and they blow it. You know, why does this happen? Well, they don't really know. And success is a real puzzle. Go and ask a dozen people what the meaning of success is, and they really don't know. Ask them how to become successful, and they don't know that either. You see, we are the product of somebody else's habitual way of thinking, and I believe it's time to change. So let's take a look at how we can change. You know, Joel Barker wrote a book on paradigms, and he said, to ignore the power of paradigms to influence your judgment is to put yourself at risk when exploring the future. Now, think about that. To ignore the power of paradigms, most people do ignore the power of paradigms because they don't understand what a paradigm is. If you don't know what it is, you'll just automatically ignore it. So, he said, to ignore the power of paradigms to influence your judgment is to put yourself at risk when exploring the future. Well, most people do that, but he also pointed out that to be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm. Now, if we're going to change them, we're going to have to understand what they are. If we're going to change them, we're going to have to understand how they're formed. We're going to have to understand what we have to do. And get this, it's well worth studying because when you change your paradigm, you can literally write your own check. You can decide where you're going to go and what you're going to do. You start to determine how much you're going to earn, how much fun you're going to have, the trips you're going to take, where you're going to go, and what you're going to do. Now, to start off with, there's only two things you really have to know to succeed. Sounds pretty simple, right? The first one is, you have to know where you are. You know, most people don't know where they are. I owe a man named Ray Stanford just a tremendous debt. Ray Stanford was a guy 45 years ago who got me to sit down and really look at how I was living. He said, do you like the way you're living? And I said, no, not particularly. He said, you think I'm a happy guy? And I said, yeah, you seem pretty happy to me. He said, if you've ever seen me sick? I had to admit I hadn't. He said, if you've ever seen me when I was broke? And again, I had to admit I hadn't. Well, he told me, you gotta be one of the most miserable people I've ever met. And I was. I was an unhappy human being. Yet he said, you're always sick. Now he said, you don't have a terminal illness, but you've always got a headache or a cold or something. And he said, you're always broke. Oh, I was. I was always broke. I never had any money. He wondered how I was going to change it. Well, you know, it never really entered my mind that I could. It never crossed my mind that I had the ability to sit down and decide exactly what I wanted to do. Now, I said there's only two things you have to know to succeed. Well, let's take a look at the second one. The second one is you've got to know where you're going. You not only have to know where you are, but you have to know where you're going. Now, you see, I was not in a good place. I was unhappy, I was sick, and I was broke. And because that's where I was, it was almost like I had to stay there. But you see, I was 26 years old, and I had been trying to change my results since I was a kid, and nothing seemed to happen. So, I guess by the time I was 26, I just assumed this was my lot in life. But he said that doesn't have to be the way it is. He said, your present results have nothing to do with your future unless you let them. Now, he said, your results are neither good nor bad, everything just is. Take a look at the room you're standing in. The room's neither big nor small, the room just is. It's only big or small relative to something else. Look at a bigger room, and the room you're in is small. Look at a smaller room, and the room you're in is big. Well, he said, your results are neither good nor bad. That has to do with the law of polarity. The law of polarity decrees there are two sides to everything. It's also the law of relativity. We have to relate things. So, he said, you know, relative to most of the population of the world, you live like Solomon in all his splendor and glory. So, that's not the deal. He said, you're not where you want to be. So, I said, let's ignore where you're at now that you know where you are. And let's think of where you want to go. Where do you really want to go? Well, you know, it had been so long since I dreamed that I really didn't know. And you know what I found? I found that most people don't know. But if we sit down with a pen and a pad and ask ourselves, what do I really want to do? We can do it. Now, you see, there's a part of the paradigm that stops us from doing that because we immediately ask, how am I going to do it? How does it matter? Hillary didn't know how to get to the top of the mountain until after he got there. I had the good fortune of working with Edmund Hillary on 3 different occasions. The only thing I saw different about him and anybody else was his size, his determination, and his vision. See, no one had ever been to the top of Mount Everest. No one had ever stood on top of the world until Hillary did. There have been over 1,000 people who have done it since then. You see, what about the Wright brothers? No one had ever flown, but they did. You see, it doesn't matter how you're going to do it. What matters is what you're going to do. So think about this. Who are you? Now that's what Ray started off by asking me. He said, who are you? I said, what do you mean? I said, I'm Denzel. No, he said, that's not who you are. He said, that's your name. Where's the guy? I thought, you know, I'm not my name. Now, he said, Denzel Washington is your name, but it's not you. He said, they're 2 words you use. You could change them if you want, but that's not you. And I said, well, this is me. No, he said, that's your body. You've never heard anybody phone into work and say, body's not coming in today, it's sick. Think of it. You never hear anybody say, I am hand, I am leg, it's my hand, my leg, my name, my body. These are all things we have. We've got to really stop and think, who am I? Now, you know, when you do that, you're going to come up with some pretty good answers. We are spiritual beings. That's who we are. We are a soul. We don't have one. We are one. We are spiritual beings. We have been gifted with an intellect. We have intellectual factors. We've got magnificent mental tools locked up inside of us, and we live in a physical body. Now, it's how we use our intellectual factors that's going to dictate our emotional state, and our emotional state is very likely going to control how we behave. Now, we're going to get into a lot of this later on, but you know, that's the way it is for right now. Now, I have mentioned 1,000 times, if I've mentioned it once, we think in pictures. You see, now if you think in pictures, I am spirit, I have an intellect, and I live in a physical body. And when you think of yourself, what picture do you get? The physical picture. It's the picture that reflects back from the mirror. It's the picture of the thing we dress. And so, we think this is us. This isn't us at all. We've got to get an image of ourselves as spirit. Nobody's ever seen spirit. We see the expression of spirit. Spirit's creative, we're creative. Now, think about this for a moment. Dr. Thurman Fleet, in 1934, realized that we had a real problem. No one ever saw the higher side of a person's personality. So, he said, I'm going to make a picture. And he said, here's a picture of the mind and the body. Now, I want to recommend you do what I've been doing now for close to 40 years. You see, I had been studying this for around 5 or 8 years, something like that, before this picture was presented to me. Leland Vandal presented this to me, and when he did that, everything came into order in my mind. I'd been studying all this material about the mind, but I didn't have an image. See, most people, when they think of the mind, they think of the brain. The brain isn't the mind any more than a fingernail is the brain. The brain is an electronic switching station. It's your brain that you activate to set up new vibrations in your body, and the vibration causes you to act the way you act. Your vibration dictates what you attract. You know that everything coming into your life you attract. So, what we have to learn to do is, how do we work with the mind? Well, I'll tell you what I do. I see my head as my mind and everything from the neck down as the body. Is that the way it is? No, of course not. But that's an image that I'm working with. All right, now, we take the mind and we break it into two parts. We have the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Yeah, I think there's probably 150 names for each, you know? The conscious mind as well as the subconscious. In some areas, they call the subconscious the unconscious, and some call it universal intelligence. Call it whatever you want, we don't care what you call it. Let's understand how it works. Your conscious mind gives you the ability to choose. It's very powerful. Your subconscious mind does not have that ability. Now, your subconscious mind is your feeling mind. Pardon me, your subconscious mind is your feeling mind. The conscious mind is your thinking mind. All right, the conscious mind is your thinking mind, and you have hooked up to your conscious mind your sensory factors. So, let's look at this for a moment. What do most people think? Well, they think according to what's going on outside of them, because these sensory factors are picking up that information and then they feed it in. They think in pictures and they turn it over to their subconscious, and that's what causes them to feel the way they feel. You see, what you think and the impressions you make upon your subconscious control the vibration you're in. That vibration controls how you act and produces the results you're getting. Now, you can think anything you want, but when you were a child, you couldn't act. Let me back up. Your subconscious mind is wide open, and you can put anything in it you want. When you were a baby, your subconscious mind was wide open, so whatever went on around you came right into your subconscious mind. Now, right now, you can block everything out of your subconscious mind. You can do it with your conscious mind. You can mentally choose the ideas that you put in. You take a look at something, you don't like it, just reject it. See, the conscious mind has the ability to accept or reject ideas. The subconscious mind doesn't have that ability. You know, when you're a baby, your mind is wide open. You can put anything in it you want. At birth, a baby is a linguistic genius. It's literally a linguistic genius. You can teach a baby any language. I have some associates of mine in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. They have a little 4-year-old boy who speaks 4 languages. Do you know that you can teach a baby to read before it can talk? Now, somebody will say, I don't believe that. Well, then you probably wouldn't do it. The reason we don't teach babies to read before they can talk is because we don't get any feedback. We don't understand how their mind works. We don't understand that we can program it, and yet we are programming it. Whatever we're talking about, whatever is going on around that baby, is going right into the baby's subconscious mind. Where did you get the idea that you go to work to earn money? Do you know that working is the worst way to earn money? You go to work for satisfaction. That's why we should be doing what we absolutely love to do. You provide service to earn money. Why do you think 90% of the population has absolutely no idea how to earn money? Now think about this for a moment. This is very, very important that you understand this. All right? It's super important that you understand it, because if you don't understand it, you're going to continue doing what you're doing. How are you at earning money? Are you having trouble with it? Well, if you're having trouble with it, it's because of the ideas that are programmed right into your subconscious mind. You see, if you're working around people who think it's difficult to earn money, then when you're a baby, you're going to grow up thinking it's difficult to earn money. If your parents went to school, you'll probably go to school. If your parents didn't, you probably won't. If you blame the weather and what's going on outside for the disease that you may have, then you'll probably do the same thing. Why do you like the food you like? You like it because you're programmed to eat it. You didn't choose to like that food, you choose to like the food that you're programmed to eat. Now, when that programming takes place, it's genetic and environmental. Around the age of 4 or 5, the mind is already programmed. The ideas going in over and over and over again become fixed in your subconscious mind. We call that a paradigm, and then you begin to think. Now, you can think anything you want, but your paradigm is controlling your behavior and controlling your results. Think of this for a moment. Let's suppose you're earning $50,000 a year. What do you think the odds are of you thinking the thoughts of a person earning $250,000 a year? You're not going to do it. As a matter of fact, you'll probably think they're different. They're no different than you or me. The only difference is in their thinking. You can think anything you want, but the paradigm seems to control the way we think. Now, we've got to make up our mind that we're going to stop that. The mind you can think anything you want. It's your thinking mind. Think anything you want to think, and don't let the paradigm control you. It's a beautiful concept once you start to understand it. So, really think about this, all right? Now, your paradigm controls your logic. Now, think of this for a moment. We never flew in airplanes because anything heavier than air is attracted towards the center of the earth. It was totally illogical to think that we could build something of metal and have it fly through the air carrying people. That was illogical. But we're doing it. See, it's logical now, but it wasn't when the Wright brothers got the plane off the ground. A person who's earning $50,000 a year, if they go and talk to one of their buddies about earning $250,000 a year, they'll say, "You're crazy." That is totally illogical. Well, let's think for a moment. If the paradigm's controlling the logic, if the paradigm is controlling the results, and we want to change the results, wouldn't it make good sense then to start thinking about things that are totally illogical? So when you're looking at where you are and looking at where you're going, I think we want to get some ideas in our mind that maybe are a little scary. You see, if your goal doesn't scare and excite you at the same time, it's probably not a good goal. What do you really want to do? Now, I was sitting in a fire hall when I picked up Think and Grow Rich many years ago. That was the best job I had ever had. I only worked 7 days and 7 nights a month, and I could sleep there all night, go golfing all day. I was earning above average income. They had never had anyone they let go. Only one person since 1934 had quit the job, and yet I quit. It was totally illogical for me to do that. Why did I do it? I did it because I wanted to change my life. I wanted to change the people I associated with. I wanted to change everything. Now, Maslow said, you're either going to step forward into growth or you're going to step back into safety. That's a decision that you've got to make. If you step forward into growth, it's going to be scary. If you step back into safety, you're going to stay where you are. So let's think for a moment. Where are you and where do you want to go? It's a good question that most people never ask themselves. I want you to stop and think about what it was like when you were a child. What kind of environment were you born into? Because that's where your paradigm formed. Stop and go back. Take a look at your ancestors. You see, you might ask, how did you get here? Well, there was a little particle of energy from mom, a little particle of energy from dad coming together, and that was the nucleus of you. Do you know that all mom's DNA and all dad's DNA are locked up in those little particles of energy? All their habit patterns are there. Why do you think you have some of the little idiosyncrasies that they have? Why do you think you look so much like your parents? Do you think that's an accident? See, the truth is, most people never spend any time thinking about this. I want you to think about it because your way of life is controlled to an enormous degree by your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, their grandparents, and it's passed along from one generation to the next. I'll give you an indication of what I'm talking about. It's kind of cute, but it's true. I was born and raised in Northern Ontario in Canada. My wife was born and raised in the southern part of the United States, in Birmingham, Alabama, and in Pensacola, Florida. Totally different cultures. Now, we came together and we started to go out together. Well, then we got married and we were out shopping one day and I said, you know what I'd like? Some turnip. She said, okay. So I pick one up and she says, what are you going to do with that? I said, I'm going to eat it. Well, she said, I'm not eating that. I said, why not? She says, that's the root of the turnip. I said, say what? She said, that's the root of the turnip. I'd never heard it called that. I'd never even thought of that. It was just a turnip. Yet she said, we feed that to the pigs. Well, I said, what do you eat? She said, we eat the green of the turnip. I don't think I'd ever seen a turnip green. I said, isn't that strange? We give that to the pigs. Here she was, raised where they ate the green of the turnip and threw the root away. I grew up where we ate the root of the turnip and threw the green away. Now, I put the turnip back in the bin and walked away. I mean, I'm not going to fight over a turnip, but I got thinking about it, and I thought, I wonder how many other ideas we operate like that. You see, that had to do with where she was raised. Now, do you want to know the truth? We don't eat turnip in our house anymore. We just don't eat it. If I go to my mother's or my sister's, we might, but think about it. She was raised in a totally different culture than I was. I do work over in Kang, Kota Kinabalu, and Kuala Lumpur, totally different cultures. When we have breaks for seminars here in North America, we have coffee breaks, refreshment breaks. Not in Malaysia. We have prayer breaks. Totally different culture. Now, ask yourself, why are you like you are? I want you to go back and think of yourself, just your subconscious mind, wide open, you're a little baby. What were the people talking about? What were they doing? What were their thoughts towards income? Because they're the thoughts that got planted in your subconscious mind. Again, you see, it's the repetition of these ideas going in over and over again that has programmed us. Now, in this series, Paradigm Shift, you've got to really understand how paradigms were formed if you're going to be effective at changing them. See, I can tell you how to change the paradigm, but if you don't understand how it's formed, it wouldn't make any sense. Some of the things I'm going to tell you to do to change your paradigm are going to seem silly. They're going to seem immature. Well, that's all right. Do them anyway. Do you know you're going to find that the multimillionaires in the world, the people that are happy, the people that are alive and vibrant, they do things a little differently than everybody else? They march to the tune of their own drummer. You know, you'll often find people, I was 71 on my last birthday, and people say, you should slow down. I think that's nuts. I should speed up. I'm really just getting warmed up. You see, I don't think we have to slow down. I think what we have to do is calm down. We have to pace ourselves. We have to do things in a very calm, confident manner. You can go at warp speed if you're doing that. I'll work in 3 or 4 different continents in the same week. Think nothing of it. I can get on a plane and go to sleep just the same as I can get in bed at home and go to sleep. Do you know why? I programmed myself to live that way. Do you know the way you're living is according to the program? Who decided on your program? Did you pick it or did someone else pick it? Now, think about it. I want you to be super honest when you're analyzing your results. Really take a look at where you are and then ask yourself, why don't you change your results? Well, we really don't know. Why are you doing what you're doing? What time do you start work? I always say everybody should belong to the 6 o'clock club. You want to get up at 6, ready to fire your engines. Good time to wake up and study. Talk about studying. How much time do you spend studying? What do you study? You see, if you really want to change your life, you've got to get locked into study. You've got to figure out why you're doing what you're doing and how to change it. Now remember, I said we're spiritual beings and we live in physical bodies. That is no small thing. That's not something just to discuss at church or at the temple or at the mosque. This is something that we really want to focus on. Where is spirit? Spirit's omnipresent. Spirit's 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. Spirit's all-powerful. Do you know that all the power there ever was or there ever will be is omnipresent? It's 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. This is very, very vital information, and we've got to think about it. It isn't just something to read and say, isn't that nice? You have infinite potential. What are you doing with it? There are 2 things we're not taught in school. There are many things we're not taught in school, but there are 2 things that we're not taught that are vitally important if you really want to make a paradigm shift and make things happen in your life. Number 1, you have to learn how to make decisions. It's absolutely essential. Most people have a difficult time with it. And number 2, you've got to learn how to earn money. You've got to learn how to earn money. See, the more money you have, the more effective you can become. Now understand this. Money is just used for 2 things. 1, it's to make you comfortable. And 2, it enables you to extend the service that you render far beyond your own physical presence. I don't go into a lot about money in this particular lesson. I just want to touch on it. We will cover money specifically in one lesson. See, money is to make you comfortable. The more comfortable you are, the more creative you can become. And the other purpose of it is to extend the service that you render far beyond your own presence. So, you can actually be providing service when you're sleeping. If you're providing service when you're sleeping, you can be earning money while you're sleeping. Now, I was sitting in a hotel here in the city last night, sleeping. But I can assure you, I was earning money while I was sleeping. See, I'm of the opinion that the mailman should never pass your door without leaving a check. Now, I know that probably sounds appealing to you. How do you get that way? You get that way by making up your mind that you're going to write the next program for your subconscious mind. You're not going to let somebody else do it. So, we start to evaluate where we're at, what we're doing, how much time do you spend thinking, and what do you spend time thinking about? I spend a lot of time in planes. I am leaving here, where I'm shooting this particular series in Dallas, and I'm going to fly immediately to London. Then, I'm going to go from there right back to Toronto, and from there out to Utah. Now, this is all happening in a week. so I'm going to be spending a lot of time in the air. I was flying over to Kuala Lumpur from Toronto every month for approximately 5 years. It's 25 hours in the air from Toronto to KL, and if you go any further, you're coming back. So, it's a lot of flying, and I have that time for mental disturbances. I play with words and numbers. I spend all my time in the air playing with words and numbers. I'll build things in my mind, and then I lay down a track that I want to run on, how I'm going to execute it. Now, when I get a great idea, I'll write it down. If it's still a good idea a week later, I know I'm on to something. Then, I'll put together a team of people to execute it. You see, I think you should have a team working with you. If you're going to make a paradigm shift, that's vitally important. So, think. You've got to make decisions. You know, Napoleon Hill said that the people who win in life make decisions very fast and change them very slow if and when they change them at all. Like that, you're going to find that people who have problems in life make their decisions very slow and change them frequently without any cause. Why would an individual do that? It's part of the paradigm. Take a look at how you're living. Start to analyze what you do when you get out of bed in the morning. There's a pattern that you follow. The pattern is the expression of the paradigm. How much time do you spend sitting down to do nothing but create big ideas to improve the quality of your life? Don't say you haven't got time. Everybody gets exactly the same amount of time. We get all there is. So, what are you doing with your life? How do you spend your days? I want you to become super aware of the thought patterns that you entertain. Start to monitor your own thinking. Don't spend time thinking about why you can't do something. Spend time thinking about how you can. You see, you're capable of doing anything. Now, understand this. You're either going to go forward into growth or back into safety. I want to also remind you that there are no shortcuts, but you can take quantum leaps through the transference of experience and information.